Good morning, everyone. Number 6 entry in April, and today I'm going to go back to talking about exercise. I'm going to go to sharing my screen here, which seemed to work okay the last time, and I'm hoping that this is working again. So basically, what you're looking at here, as the title implies, the Unified Theory of Exercise by RenX, which is short for Renaissance Exercise. This is copyrighted material that belongs to them, giving full credit. Primarily Ken Hutchins' work, also other people like Gus Diamantopoulos, as well as Josh Trentini and others. And I'm just going to do a few different entries about this particular slide. And I'm going to start at the top. You would think maybe I would start at the middle where everything goes from, which is the definition of what exercise is, but I'm going to start at the top, exercise versus recreation. And actually, I think I could do several entries about this because a lot of people equate exercise with sports or other recreational activities. And this causes a lot of confusion. And I have mixed feelings about sports in general, to tell you the truth, because a lot of people injure themselves playing sports. A lot of kids who are involved in sports at a young age and whatnot have injuries that come back to plague them later in life. We tend to glorify sports. We put people on a pedestal who are really good at sports. And to some extent, I get it. It builds character. It helps people to set goals and achieve them, creates a sense of teamwork. There are many positive aspects of it, but I find that we take too lightly some of the more negative aspects, which is the injury part of it. But that would be another aspect of it. But when people sort of think about sports and other recreational activities and think of them almost as a synonym for exercise, this is where a lot of the issues come to play. Because people will say, well, I'm going to play hockey, it's good exercise. I'm going to swim, it's good exercise. I'm going to play golf because I walk the course and it's good exercise. And all those things do have a certain exercise effect. Any activity to some degree has an exercise effect. If you are completely immobile, for example, if you were bedridden as a result of an illness or a car accident or something, then you will atrophy and you will decondition very quickly. But once you have a certain degree of conditioning from doing your everyday activities and whatnot, doing more than that is what's needed to create an ongoing improvement in your conditioning and maintaining of conditioning above a certain level. And sports and recreation typically do that, if at all, in a very inefficient and usually a much more dangerous way. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't play sports, but I'm saying that if you do so, you should do so because you enjoy that particular recreational activity and you've considered the pros and cons, the chances of injury, either acute or chronic as a result of playing this sport, and you've made an informed decision that you feel that the benefits to you in terms of your enjoyment of doing it, the camaraderie, whatever, for you are more important than the downsides. And if you're doing it like that, then fine. But if you don't enjoy it, then it's a very poor choice for conditioning. And it doesn't need. So the good news is if all you enjoy doing is playing chess, playing guitar, I do encourage people to walk regularly, not long distances, just don't stay seated the whole time. And part of what I wanted to touch on in this particular entry is that one of the specific things that sports, confounding sports and recreation does, is it creates confusion as to how much of a time commitment is needed in order to have conditioning. Because you see, most sports, virtually all I would think, involve a skill aspect. And in order to get better at any skill, whether it's in a sporting event or art or craftsmanship or playing a musical instrument, then you have to practice and you have to put in the hours in order to do that. It's a bit of an aside. It's been shown that practicing for short periods with taking lots of break is better than practicing for long periods. But I digress. You do have to put in a certain amount of time to get proficient when it comes to skill. And so when we look at athletes who are very good at what they do, we often use them as role models as what is needed. So notwithstanding that many of those athletes are not exercising or doing conditioning properly, and they're confounding it because they are, by definition, if they are elite athletes and household names, they are by definition genetic freaks, in a sense that they are, among the best in the world on the whole planet at what they do. So they can, quote, get away with doing overtraining what would normally be far too much. And of course, there's the evidence you see and the evidence you don't see, which is the fact that you see the guy standing on the podium with the medals. You don't see the hundreds or maybe thousands of other athletes who wound up with career-ending injuries as a result of doing all this overtraining. They don't show, so we don't know about that. But the conditioning, the skill acquisition approach rather, does take time. And so we assume that for us to be fit and exercise for a sport called everyday life, which is just being able to do what we do every day, activities of daily living, and be able to do them well into our old age, including perhaps playing certain recreational activities with our grandchildren and others, requires very little time. If you create a challenge for your muscles by working them in a safe manner, in a way that is going to make them challenged to the point where they can no longer complete another repetition, then it takes very little time in order to do that. Just a few exercises, not done too frequently, to allow the body to recover from that stimulus in order to produce the desired response does not take a lot of time. And it's not something you can get away with it. It actually is a requirement of having optimal adaptation without the wear and tear that comes from any activity on your body over time. Anyways, that's long enough for now. I will follow up on this in future entries. Bye for now.